Hello and welcome to another episode of Ascension Talk with Ariella. And on today's episode, I have got a very important topic to speak to you about. It's something that I hope you'll find immensely useful and informative. I talk a lot about the 7 stages of ascension. I believe that we all as humans are going through these 7 clear evolutionary stages on the earth plane. And today I'm going to be talking to you about stage number 1, or initiation number 1, which is all about the initiation of the physical realm. So I do hope that you will join me for this. And for those of you who are watching this live, I would love to receive any questions that you have about this topic or about your ascension process in the comments below. So remember that I am here with you live streaming into my Facebook group, which is a free Facebook group. So if you're watching this back on the replay, I invite you to join it. It's called Avatar Ascension. It's called the Avatar Ascension Community, and you can find that on Facebook, and it should also be in the link below if you're watching this on YouTube. So I do live streams on the first 3 Thursdays of each month at 4 p.m. London time, and I talk about all things ascension related. It will either be me doing a teaching or me doing a sharing, or I sometimes bring guests on as well, other ascension teachers, spiritual teachers, and interview them. And sometimes I'm also interviewing people who are in the Ascension community, right, going through the ascension process as well. So it's a really beautiful place to plug in. So please, like, put it in your diaries. The first 3 Thursdays of each month at 4 p.m. London. It's a great place just to come together, right, and to have this moment where we can, like, tune into our ascension journeys. Where are we at the moment? Where does our focus need to be on? And I always share lots of very useful advice, tips and guidance to help people to go through this phenomena that we are all going through, whether consciously or not, called the ascension process. So before I talk to you about the first initiation, I have just been reminded by my team. I am fortunate enough, blessed enough to have a team now who's supporting me on my mission, to remind me, to nudge me to do the prize draw that I promised. So for those of you who are on my email list, I sent out a survey a few days ago asking your support in helping me to understand more about where the Ascension community are at right now, so I know how to serve you better. And I was absolutely blown away by the amount of you who took the time to actually fill in that survey for me. So thank you to everybody who did that. It's really helpful so that I can see where people are at, what you guys are most needing. So then, like, in my Facebook, in my email list, whenever I'm doing the free offerings, and I do quite a few free offerings to this community, you know, I can then feed into that, right, pour into those things that you're wanting. And also it helps me when I'm thinking about my mission and what needs to be created next, of where to focus. So thank you so much. And I promised one of you who filled out my survey that you would win a full soul purpose reading with my head oracle, whose name is Penilla Innerbeck. And Penilla is a beautiful high vibrational being, definitely an indigo, definitely a channel, and she can really help you to get, like, right to the core of what is your creation story, where have you been, where are you going, and she can also help you to get clearer on what your higher purpose is and what to really focus on in order to accelerate your ascension process. So there were 187 of you who actually filled out that survey, which, as I say, is incredible. Thank you so much. So I'm going to pick a random number now, because I've got all of your names here in front of me, and I'm not going to look at the sheet, but what I have done is I've numbered all of these names. So I'm actually on my sheet, it's between 3 and 190, because there's a couple of rows, it's a spreadsheet, there's a couple of rows ahead of it. So I'm going to pick a random number. Spirit will guide me on what number to pick. And for the number that I call out, and I'll read your name out, we will contact you about setting up that reading for you and Pernilla. Okay, so just connecting in with Source, with the unlimited light of Source, in service to this beautiful collective of souls who filled out my survey. Just asking now for a number to be given to me between 3 and 190. The person that is most in need of this reading as decided by Source on this day. I've got a number. Very clear, very quickly that came in. 53 is the number. So let me have a look at my list and find where number 53 is. 53. Here we go. I feel like I might recognize this. So Helen, I've not got a surname. Helen, I'm looking at, I think your surname might be Fable. It's on your email address. So helen.fable, so that probably is your surname. Congratulations, Helen, you have won a full soul purpose reading with Pernilla. So we will be in touch with you to set up your reading. So congratulations. Yeah, I thought I might recognize the email address, but maybe not. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for completing the survey. And thank you to everybody else as well for completing that survey. It really does help us to receive like people who are, you know, wanting to serve you. And I think some people can think of, you know, well, we're just on your email list, there isn't that connection, but we really, really do honor this relationship. I certainly do. I honor very much the relationship that I have with my community. So just know that it means a huge amount to me. And thank you again for everybody who completes the survey and for everybody who tunes into these lives. You know, it's wonderful to have your presence here. Thank you for your time, your energy and your presence. Okay, just gonna have a look to see how many people are here with me live today. Just gonna refresh the page. Okay, so yes, Pernilla is here live. Hi Pernilla, great to see you. So here we go. Yes, it is Helen who has won the reading. So I'll send you her details, Helen Fable. So hello to everybody else who is here live. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go into a bit of a teaching now about the first stage or first initiation on the ascension process. As I say, it's very much about the physical realm. So this is about your not just your physical body, but also the material world or the physical world as well. So here we go. So this first initiation, it's very much centered around the root chakra. Okay, so we know that the root chakra is related to themes such as money, sex, survival, also health, also fitness, right? Those are the key themes for the root chakra. So what is happening here with this first stage, this first initiation, and all of us go through this first initiation because it's with us as soon as we are born. Yeah, so there are 7 stages in total in the ascension process, and stage 1 is obviously the first one. What I want to say is that this process, the 7 stages, I'm going to be presenting it in a very linear way, but it is a vastly multidimensional process, of course, being ascension. The soul can actually like pick us up at any time. But we do, most of us, like unless you are a very, very, very high being that comes in further on along the line, most of us start off with this first initiation, all about the physical realm. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the themes are, and then I'll do a sharing from my own journey of how I experienced this first initiation, because I think sometimes it can help us, right, to get some perspective when you hear about other people's journeys, about where you are on your path. So this first initiation, the physical initiation, the soul is really looking to understand itself as a physical being. So of course, when we're first born, like, we're still very much connected to spirit, right? For a long time, in fact. You know, our soul hasn't fully integrated into our body at that point. So the soul is wanting to understand itself physically so that it can know itself spiritually. So what happens is we set up these initiations for ourselves in order to do that. Now, there are a few different streams that this generally goes in for the physical initiation. The first is, you might have somebody who from a young age is very, very drawn to, let's say, fitness. Yeah. And we can see, like, there's a lot of people, younger people, especially in our society today, who are like very, very obsessed, actually, right, in terms of their physical bodies. So they're going down the gym all the time. It's all about fitness, right? And it's like, that's where the main focus is. So it could play out in that stream. Those people who are in that place of, like, you know, really, really obsessing about their body, a massive focus on the body. That's the first stage of the 7 stages. Yeah, so that's the first initiation. Or it could play out that maybe from a fairly young age, might be in your teenage years, for example, you are drawn to the healing arts in some way. Now, that could be through becoming a doctor or the medical professions. It could be becoming a nurse, right? Or it could be more of the alternative healing arts. So it could be that you are studying to be a herbalist, for example. Or it could be that you are very drawn to becoming a Reiki practitioner even. So that's another way that it can play out, the healing arts. Another way that it can play out, and this was my experience, is because it's all about the physical body, you either have a group of people that is really focused on looking after that body, or you have another stream which is actually, and a lot of star seeds fall into this category, which is neglect of the body or avoidance of the physical realm, because that's what's really creating the neglect of the physical body. So then you have souls who are experiencing things like addiction, things like escapism in all forms. So, like, for me, from a young age, my first addiction was reading books. You know, I was absolutely obsessed with reading. I was reading all the time, and it was because I could escape, right, the physical reality. I didn't have to be embodied, you know, or feel like I was trapped in the physical. I could go off in my head. I could be in the book. I could be in this fantasy, right? So it's like, it's a way of disassociating from the physical plane. And that's what all addiction is about. And for those of you who know my journey, and for those of you that don't, like, there was a lot of that playing out for me, a lot of wanting to avoid, wanting to escape the physical from a very early age, not happy in my body, not happy, not really happy with the world, right? The way that it was set up, not really feeling that connected to it, not really wanting to be a part of it, and not really understanding it, okay, which is a lot of starseeds, high frequency souls, beings that where your consciousness is not seated on the earth plane, it's originally seated somewhere else. A lot of us can experience this, right? It can be quite a shock to us incarnating, when our souls incarnate and we're in these physical bodies, and it's like everything's really slow and the world is a crazy place. So that it can set up these avoidancy patterns, which it certainly did with me. So started off with books for me, and then from my teenage years, there became a lot of experimentation with drugs, lots of alcohol, and then through some difficult processes which occurred around 18 for me, My parents got divorced at that age, which I found very, very, very difficult to handle. Lots of stuff around that, but it's, I didn't feel, I guess it removed kind of any safety that I was feeling. And I never had that experience really growing up of feeling that safe in the physical world, which is why I wanted to escape it. But when my parents divorced, it kind of pulled that last rug, or that's how I interpret it, underneath me. Very, very emotionally sensitive, and a lot of indigos, a lot of starseeds, empaths are the same, particularly the new humans, the indigos, the rainbows, the crystals. A lot of us can't detach from our emotions, find it very, very difficult. So we come in extra sensitive. So when there are situations like divorce, or it could have been anything, right, a major event that's going on in your life, we can react to it very, very badly, as I did. So then there was lots of panic attacks happening for me, lots of like mood problems, depression problems, particularly anxiety. So I started drinking as a way to be able to ground, because I was going through that root chakra initiation, that physical initiation, and I didn't feel grounded. My soul did not want to ground, because it felt very unsafe inside of my body, inside of the physical realm. And alcohol became a crutch for me for many, many years, as a way that I could function and deal with this heavily like toxic, traumatic inner world that I was experiencing with my emotions. So this was my my first initiation. I rock bottomed quite dramatically at age 29, and I actually went into addiction recovery, into AA, and I like really threw myself at the program, because I was incredibly desperate, desperate to find some sort of happiness, right? Because the only happiness that I could find was when I was off my face, escaping from reality. So the thing is about AA is that there is, and all of the 12-step fellowship groups, there is a lot of very high frequency, highly sensitive, highly spiritual, empathic souls in those addiction recovery rooms. And it's part of this first initiation. We are choosing to experience the physical realm and reconnect with our spirituality, because this whole ascension process is of course a process of returning back to source, returning back to the oneness. So we come in, first of all, we have this like separation drama that happens. We're separated from spirit, from our source. We are then, we realize that we're separate from our parents, right? Because when we're babies, we don't actually realize that we're separate from the mum. It's still like we're in the womb. So we have this separation consciousness, and then that can lead us down some dark paths for some of us, like it did me, addiction for me. And then it's like through incredible fellowships like AA, like the 12th step fellowships, which, and I still say to this day, thank God, thank God for AA. It saved my life. It was there for me at a time when I really, really needed it. And there is a lot of other very high frequency spiritual souls in AA who are choosing, again, this reality of reconnecting with source through addiction. It's like the baptism of fire initiation. You are walking through the fire to reconnect with your source, like with your higher power, your source. Higher power is a term they use in AA. But I would say we're all remembering ourselves as goddesses in bodies. So it's interesting, right? Because whether you choose more of a rite of passage, more of a turbulent initiation for this first stage initiation, or whether you are somebody who chooses to really look after your health, right? Which, the other two streams that I described earlier, whether you're choosing the healing arts or whether you are like really into fitness, really into diet, it's still about that first initiation. But like you see some people who are very, very extreme, right? I mean, they're working out all the time. They're obsessed about their fitness. They're obsessed about their diet, right? And it's like, you know, all of this sort of comparison and what does my body look like, right? And all of this stuff. So whether it's like, you know, whether it's that route or the addiction route, it's still part of the same initiation. And actually neither is like better than each other, right? It's still like anything which is an extreme path is always going to bring about extreme results, right? You know, positive and negative. Of course, you're on that extreme journey. So, you know, it's that kind of like excessive focus on the body is as bad, if you like, as neglecting it. You know, we're looking for that middle path, right? Any extremes around that can be equally as damaging. So I think that is very interesting to observe, you know, when we're looking at these younger generations coming up, where it's all about the body and how do they look and how, you know, what do their abs look like and how many muscles and, you know, the plastic surgery, right? The big boobs, all of, you know, all of this stuff, the fish lips, right, that we're seeing. It's like this excessive focus on the body, and it's part of this first initiation. And many people are getting stuck there. I mean, honestly, right, when you look around, many people are getting stuck there. So I will talk a little bit about how we transmute this and we go to the next stage. But let's have a look at some of the other pathways as well. So yeah, it could be anything around money as well. So part of this first initiation, we are, you know, we're learning to make money in society. We're learning to activate that aspect of us. But of course, money as an initiation is vast in itself. You know, over focus on making money for the sake of making money is going to make you soul sick. You know, the light of the divine cannot ground into your root chakra. You know, you cannot ground your soul light into the earth plane if you have an obsessive over focus on making money for the sake of money, which is actually coming from a lack place and a scarcity place, right? So fine to make money, but again, we're looking for that middle path. The extremes is where we want to be, all need to be mindful. So it could be about money. It could be about sex as well. So again, it being the root chakra. Many of us, I think all of us, create these initiations for ourselves on our path around sex. Yeah. So again, looking at the extremes there, you know, it could be an over preoccupation about sex. And again, that can often be like an addictive quality because you're wanting to escape your reality. So it's a preoccupation, it's an addiction, it's either a mental addiction, right, when you're like thinking about it a lot, or you know, you're watching porn and all of these things, like as an obsessive kind of addiction, like energy, right? I mean, all of those things can be very, very highly addictive in society. So it could be like an over preoccupation with it, mentally and physically. Having lots of sex, being very promiscuous, having lots and lots of partners is definitely part of that first initiation. Again, it could be like an it could be underactive, right? So it could be that like you're not interested, you've never had sex, or you don't think about it, or like it's just not something that you're focused on, which again is another extreme. And again, it's just about the root chakra and about not feeling safe in our bodies, not feeling safe to connect. So lots of stuff around all of this, as I'm sure that that all of us can see. So how can we go to the second initiation? Because the second initiation, and I will do a separate video about it, is all about the emotions, mastery over the emotions. Number one is all about mastery over the physical realm. Number two is all about mastery over the emotions. And by the way, the good news is, and thank goodness for this. It doesn't have to be a perfect journey and it doesn't have to be like mastery to 100% either. If it was, I would still be stuck in stage 1. For me, it was enough going into AA, which I did when I was 29, going into AA, cleaning up my act, like stopping drinking, stopping like all of the addictive abuse that I was doing to my body really at that time, and going on this incredible healing journey, right? And I went on a very, very deep healing journey for many, many years to, which then led me on to looking at my emotions, stage 2, right? But first of all, I had to put down the drink and I had to be abstinent and get used to like being in my body and stop escaping it. So that's how I transitioned out of stage 1. And everybody who has got active addictions, the way that they are going to be able to go to the second initiation is, you know, we have to deal with these addictions. We have to look at them, confront them, and deal with them. Otherwise, we get stuck in that lower seal of consciousness, because, of course, each one of these 7 stages on the ascension process, they have like spectrums of consciousness. So we can't start accessing the higher realms until we go through and until we master each one. As I say, it doesn't need to be perfect, but you do need to take yourself on, you know, in whatever way that is. So for some people who have this like over preoccupation on fitness, diet, and they're extremely, extremely strict with their bodies, you know, it's going to be part of their initiation to come to a place of more balance, yeah, more harmony, more love and acceptance of self. Because what is going on, of course, when you're over focused on like exercise and fitness and dieting, and it's like really, really serious, is that you're not accepting yourself, your natural self, and you're trying to transform yourself into something that you're really not naturally. Again, nothing wrong with being healthy, being fit, all of that stuff, very, very important, but it's just the extremes that we're looking at here. So I thought it was interesting when I was just writing out some notes for you for this live stream. You know, it's interesting just to consider, right? Because in the spiritual community, of course, you know, we talk about food and we talk about our bodies and we talk about health a lot, and we talk about eating high vibrational foods, and like, you know, a lot of us, including myself, have stopped eating meat. I do eat fish from time to time, so I'm a pescatarian. But I haven't eaten any meat for the past couple of years. But I think it's interesting, if you even look at sort of the vegetarians, the vegan community, some of them can be very, very extreme, right? I mean, very extreme and exceptionally judgmental, right? About like the meat eaters still, for example. And hey, I'm an animal lover, and I have stopped eating meat because I do love animals. I have a dog, you know, and it was just very clear in my consciousness one day. It was like, okay, no more meat. And I learned to follow my intuition, and it was very easy for me to stop eating meat, even though I'm a real foodie. I love food. That has been another addiction for me, and it's a way of like, you know, bringing a lot of like love and happiness very quickly and very easily into my consciousness. But I don't eat meat anymore. But I mean, compare this, an angry, judgmental vegetarian, right, or vegan, compared to a fun-loving, you know, open-hearted meat eater. You know, and when you think about this in terms of the first initiation of the physical realm, like, where are both of those people, right, in terms of the evolution of consciousness? So I think that's interesting to look at. I mean, I would far rather hang out with a fun-loving, heart-centered, open-hearted meat eater any day. And I do, because they're still in my family and, you know, they're in my friendship group, versus like a very, very harsh, judgmental vegetarian. So I think, yeah, that is interesting to look at. So yeah, I mean, it's about taking ourselves on in this first stage around the physical realm, you know, putting down the addictions or becoming much less excessive in whatever way, learning to love our bodies, learning to appreciate money, you know, use money, make money in a more conscious way, right? And also sexually as well, really taking ownership over that desire body and bringing it more into a balanced place, and bringing consciousness, bringing light to it. That's how we're all going to transcend into the next initiation. So that's what I wanted to share with you this week. I will say that in terms of my journey with addiction, it has been very, very interesting for me to go through this rite of passage, because at one point, I mean, I was completely emotionally dependent on alcohol to survive. I mean, it was a big crutch for me. And like I said earlier, I believe if I hadn't have gone into the rooms of AA when I did, I probably wouldn't be here now. I mean, I owe that fellowship a huge debt. And even though I'm not in the fellowship anymore, and it doesn't feel aligned for me, and it doesn't, the teachings don't resonate with me anymore, but it was an incredible foundation for me, and it certainly helped me to connect with my spirituality. It helped me to find my truth in terms of my spiritual beliefs. And actually, I'm one of the very, very few people, and I count myself as being very blessed and fortunate because of this, who I am actually able to enjoy a glass of wine now, right? And a bit of alcohol now, which many people can't understand, you know, when they've gone into AA, because you're told that's it, you know, you're an alcoholic for life, and if you drink again, you're going to die, or you're going to end up insane, or you're going to end up in the prison cells, right? So it was part of my rite of passage, part of me trusting in my guidance, because my guidance after like 8 years, right? No, it was less than that. I was in the rooms for 4.5 years. I did a huge amount of work on myself, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, in all ways. And after 4.5 years, my soul said to me, it's time for you to leave the fellowship, and you need to trust that you can drink again in a safe way, you know, because I was a different person. I had sorted out a lot of my emotional stuff, which is stage 2, and I'll do a separate video on that. So I'm not part of that fellowship anymore. It has been an incredibly liberating process for me to learn to trust myself, to have alcohol again. I don't do drugs, can't handle drugs, completely mess with me, wouldn't want to. It's not even part of, like, I'm just not compelled to get out of my face anymore. You know, I enjoy my life. I want to be here. I don't want to escape and just get out of my head. Hey, once in a while, you know, for a party, all good, right? But like, it's just not even in my sphere of, you know, I'm just not compelled to drink like I used to. It's just not in my consciousness whatsoever. However, I do know that I'm one of the very, very rare and few people that happens to, and I don't recommend it to anybody else. It was a journey that my soul took me on to leave that fellowship and to trust myself again. But you know, that I wouldn't want to recommend that to anybody else, because I've seen other people who have tried to do it, and it's ended very, very badly for them. So I wanted to finish on that, just being responsible around the message that I'm sharing. Just going to have a quick look now at Facebook, as I say, if you have any questions, any comments about what I'm sharing here, then please write below. So Ileana is just saying, thank you for sharing. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Panilla's writing as well. Yeah, you get to do the reading for Helen, which is awesome. So yeah, do share if there's any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. If not, then the next time I will be with you, So there isn't an Ascension Talk with Ariella next week, or the week after, actually, because it's a 5-week month. So the next time I'm going to be with you is actually going to be, which sounds like a long time away, but it's not, on the 7th of November at 4 p.m. London. So put that into your diaries, and I will be doing another teaching then. I will also just check back on the comments after this live stream has ended, and I will answer any questions that come in. Anna Smith is saying, thank you, Ariella. Yeah, no worries, my darling. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everybody, whether you tuned in live or on replay. It has been an honor to be with you. And thank you for allowing me to share my experience with you. You know, my ascension and my checkered background experience with you, right? Because it's yeah, we all learn in different ways, and I've definitely chosen to learn experientially in this lifetime. I'm one of those people that kind of has the t-shirt, you know, has been there, done it, and got the t-shirt, right, on a lot of different things, and that's just the way that I'm coded at soul level. So thank you for allowing me to share that. The other thing that's just come in that I feel is important for you guys who know about the Hebrew system that I work with, the soul purpose system, the sixes in that, the sixes, if you have sixes in challenges in particular, and if you have a dominant vibration, so 4 or more of the sixes, often they are learning to reconnect to their spirituality through addiction. So the sixes can be one to look for. Also the 8s. Yeah, so when you look at your soul profile, 8s in challenges are, and I have 8s in challenges, they are challenged by the physical. So they can sometimes create these initiations themselves around addiction, around like, you know, escapism, right? So learning to ground, learning to activate that root chakra to ground their soul light into the earth plane. So yeah, we can always relate, which is really beautiful. We can always relate all of these initiations back to our soul blueprint. So, and I definitely recommend, if you haven't already looked at your soul profile, then go onto my website and you can download it. It's only £33 on my website. You get access to your profile and also my 90-page ebook. It's in the Work With Me section. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you in a couple of weeks. Much, much love to you all. Mwah.